Hello, you are listening to Jump and Shoot, and today we're doing another episode of our Sidequests series, which is a series of live streamed discussion based podcasts about the topic of our guest choosing. And today I'm joined with Frank and Nick of Super RPG Friends. Hey guys.
Thanks for having us on, Joey.
Yeah.
Hey, Joey.
Yeah. Hey, man. Thanks, guys, for stopping in on here. This is gonna be a lot of fun. This is a subject that I've been kind of ruminating about a lot lately, and it's the sort of Nintendo facet of the sixth generation of consoles. So that's the GameCube and Game Boy Advance. So because we're all RPG guys here, pretty much, right? So it's probably going to be very focused on that. But before we start, though, tell us a little bit about you guys. What's up, man?
Well, my name's Frank. I'm the marketing director for Premium Edition Games, as well as a writer for MonsterVine, and first and foremost, the one half of the Super RPG Friends. I very clearly have video games are a big part of my life, and have made a part of my professional life as well. RPGs are, especially if you watch the show, I'm sure everyone's heard us tell our little start in RPG stories. It's an extremely important genre to me. I learned how to read with those. I kind of taught myself to read so I could play Earthbound without my mom. But I'm excited to be here. This is an interesting time in Nintendo. I feel like it's kind of a time of, the GameCube was very good and stuff like that, but I feel like it was a time that they were almost leaning towards their handheld being their strong suit at that point with the Game Boy Advance. So I'm excited to talk about this and get into this with you guys. Nick?
Oh, hi, I'm Nick. I am Frank's co-host on the Super RPG Friends. And slight correction, Frank, you write for MonsterVine.com, not MonsterBound.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You're right.
I am also a editor for MonsterVine.com. And I've been writing in and about the games industry for the past 20 years. So,
Damn, a grizzled veteran.
Way too grizzled. Definitely need a shave.
Three bearded boys.
I know, right? Three beautiful bearded boys, the triple B.
Frank's just a big old ball of positive energy.
That's fun.
I honestly, so I owned a GameCube briefly and never owned a GBA. I owned a Nintendo DS. Yeah. So this will be interesting. Even though I never owned a GBA, I still played some GBA games, both emulated and on my Nintendo DS. And the GameCube got interesting play. I had already graduated high school when I got one, so I wasn't really... And I was part of the World of Warcraft set of people that were highly addicted to that game.
Same.
And the only time it really got play was at one point when my house got struck by lightning and it fried my computer.
Oh, God.
Jesus.
Yeah. So when you're addicted to an MMO and you play from like 7 o'clock in the evening until like 6-7 o'clock in the morning, you get really bored without a computer.
Yeah, I know that feeling. That's actually going to be a big component of what we talk about, because it's same boat, man, different oars.
Nice. Well, not nice, but yeah. And no smartphones either. This is some of you, this might be hard to believe, but yeah, this is pre-smartphone. So really kind of boring. So definitely played a bunch of GameCube in that week without a computer, a week or two without a computer. But anyway, just rambling.
No, that's good. That's awesome. I love to hear this. This is the point of this podcast. And just full disclosure for anybody listening, this is more of like a free-form discussion-based podcast. I forgot to put that in the intro because, hey. So tangents are not only going to happen, but they're welcome.
We could always talk about some... I know you know about Demi Kids, though, Nick.
I do know.
SMT, man. That was my first SMT game, actually, without me knowing it. Yeah, Demi Kids, the blue one. I thought the blue version guy was a lot cooler looking. but I played the shit out of that game, and then years and years later, I found out it was actually an SMT game, and I was like, wait a minute, like, holy shit, that was the first. Yeah, I was like, that was the first SMT game I ever played. Holy crap, it was the one for kids. Okay, I knew what a Bufu was early on.
From SMT, or what's the context of No, I'm kidding. But no, I had a really similar situation where I played Revelations Persona. That was the first one I played, but I didn't realize it was the same thing as Revelations : the Demon Slayer for Game Boy Color. And it literally took me probably like 20 years. Even when I got into SMT, like fully, I didn't know that. Because that memory is so buried underneath a bunch of bullshit that I just,
Well, yeah, but it's not like the games. I mean, really, when you consider what goes on in Revelations, the what is it? The Demon Slayer or the Dragon Slayer? I forget.
Demon Slayer.
It is the Demon Slayer, right? Demon Slayer and Persona. I mean, like, consider what happens in both of those games. Demon Slayer completely being fantasy based, and Persona being, modern high school. Also, Demon Slayer being lots of fun, and the original Persona being so bad.
Okay, that I will fight you. No. I love the first Persona.
This is an SMT mainline supremacy chat.
Yes.
I like a lot of the trimmings of Persona 1, but when you consider, like, you have to get the Persona's card and then take it over to Igor, and then, like, it's just, also, the grid system was just so bad. I had Mark with me the whole time, and no matter where I put him on the grid, it was like I would get into a fight, and then he would be useless in that fight. I'm like, all right, well, if he was in the middle, he would have been able to do something. And then I get into the next fight, and if I had just left him where he was, he would have been great. But nope, I moved him in the middle, and now he can't hit anything. So
I call
it was a very frustrating experience.
The ogre battle syndrome as well. It's very common in that series. So
yeah.
Man, we are getting off the topic already, but I love it. I'll talk about SMT whenever. So yeah, we're talking about GameCube and GBA.
Demi-Kids, we're on
and
topic.
Demi-Kids, yeah. I never really played Demi-Kids though. Tell me a little bit about this experience.
It was think just like they saw that they were like, okay, we have this franchise where there's a bunch of like demons and stuff, but it has a lot of adult themes. Pokemon is officially in like we just had Gold and Silver, Ruby and Sapphire are on the horizon. Why not make a kids game about Lucifer? And that's how Demi-Kids was made. Like I was trying to remember the name of a weirder RPG for GBA that I couldn't remember the name because it was a weird one, and I was scrolling and I just immediately saw the picture for Demi-Kids Dark is just Lucifer talking to the main character, and I'm like, yeah, no, actually, if I knew, I would have known that was an SMT game because I mean, but it was very instead of the I don't think that you played like main character. I think it was strictly like a demon versus demon situation in that game, but it was very heavily Pokemon inspired, even more so than like some of the later ones that took some inspiration from it. It definitely still had that like that SMT like deeper story though. Like I don't remember every part of it, but I remember that as a kid experiencing it, I was just like, whoa, like I am going to heaven and hell. Here's the devil. What is going on? I'm like 14. Good Lord.
Both in the game and outside.
Yeah.
Living the shonen life in multiple facets. Yeah,
I'm trying to think like how
really
much
quickly with Dragon Quest Monsters. Like that kind of. I just think that's interesting, like the Demi-Kids versus SMT and Dragon Quest Monsters and Dragon Quest. Yeah, I feel like the latter is way more consistent. But sorry, Nick, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. Interesting. That's another series that I haven't played yet is Dragon Quest Monsters.
I've only played the first one because I'm a poser.
Yeah,
the slime over here. That's a poser slime, dude.
How many mainline Dragon Quests have you beaten?
Oh, I beat all the mainline ones. I played
Well,
a
then
little
you're
bit
not a
of 10.
poser.
Yeah, you're not a poser,
Dude, listen,
man.
okay, if you don't play every fucking
But have you
game,
played
you're not a
Rocket
fan.
Slime? That's the real
You
question.
know who's not a poser? Somebody that says, I played a little bit of 10. All right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't get to say you played any of 10. I mean, I know that there's a project out there that I saw recently where they have a thing where it's just like you put this box on like a window on your PC over the text box.
Yeah,
and it translates on the fly. I actually know somebody who bought an arm for his phone, right, and put it in front of him and turned the Google Glass.
That's how I played Ease 9. That's exactly how I played Ease 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, and so basically, it just had it fixed on the text, and it would translate it on the fly for him.
Dude,
Yeah.
the future is now. We've come a long way from Baron's chat. It's been a long time.
Baron's chat, oh baby, yeah. This is a WoW. This is a WoW centric. We've all played it. So saying Baron's chat, yeah.
Low key WoW boys. That's interesting. But yeah, no. So I wanted to play Hajimari no Kiseki with that, but I was like, I have too much shit. I don't care. I want to play Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and GameCube games.
Here we go, off topic yet again.
There we go.
Sorry.
That's the beauty of it, man. I did kind of miss out on the Dragon Quest Monsters element of this generation because I know a lot of the DQM games came out during this time and I never played them and I kind of feel. So let's talk about that. Are there any games in this generation that you guys feel like you missed out on, either that you didn't play or you didn't get like vanilla WoW addicted to? Like,
did you play Boktai in the sunlight or on an emulator?
I played it in the sun.
Yes. Yes.
But okay, so I'm legally blind. I can't see. Like when I play, dude, you see me on my phone. I'm like this, like literally. And so like playing a Game Boy game in the sun was extremely difficult for me. Boktai did not land.
Did you have an SP or a?
I had a regular or vanilla GBA, and then a SP later on.
Because with the backlight, it's probably a little bit easier to see in the sun, right? Or would it be the other way around?
It would be the other way around because like that. So that wasn't like a backlight. That was a light that was mounted in front of the screen. So like. You know, this is the screen and then this is the light rather than like going through here.
Right, but you still have to play with like the sun beating down on the game. Right?
And it was like, because I have to put it like right here. It was just, it was super difficult to see. And I
the SP-101 model, those are backlit. I work in a retro game store and I actually kept a copy of Castlevania Circle of the Moon when customers would try to buy an original Game Boy Advance when I had an SP. And I'm like, dude, listen, I'm telling you, you're going to hate this. You're going to come back. And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, try this and tell me if you can see it. And they're just like, I'll take the SP.
Dude,
every time. It was a sales tactic.
No, bro, for real. And that's one of the things I had like a mental checklist because I'm not disciplined or organized enough to write things down. And one of the things is Circle of the Moon because I bought a GBA day one, and that game was like impossible, like the darkest shit, and not in a Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy, Chaos, Angry Man guy, but like in a dark way that's like I literally physically cannot see this game because it's so dark.
Hey, he's our early 2000s alternative baby, and no one will speak badly of him anymore. I love the internet. Lord. Yeah, the internet went from hating him to like, this is our child, we must protect him over the course of like 3 days. And it's one of my favorite directions a meme has gone recently.
It's a testament to how much fun that game must be. I haven't played it yet.
It's fun.
I believe it. It has to be fun because otherwise everybody would still hate that guy.
It is
exactly.
Fun. It's a good demo. Is it a Game Boy Advance or Game Boy Advance or GameCube game? No, but it feels like one.
Well, so Final Fantasy Dawn of Souls. We're going back to Final Fantasy.
Good call.
That was probably most people's first exposure in the States to Final Fantasy 2. I know it was mine with its like romancing saga-esque progression and stuff. Ooh, I'm a big romancing saga guy. So as much as that game was very strange, I just love that they're like, hit your teammates if you want more health. Do it.
a man after my own heart. I still contend that that version slash the PSP version's the same thing, pretty much.
Yeah, the Dawn of Souls version
Yeah.
or whatever.
Pretty much every version after the NES version of FF2 is great and doesn't deserve the hate that it gets. But the Famicom version,
the keyword system a little bit. I don't know about the keyword system, but like, there's a lot of fun stuff in that game too.
I don't mind the keyword system. You want to know what's cool about Final Fantasy 2 is how Final Fantasy 1 pretty much has like the most nothing story of. I mean, like it really of any of the Final Fantasy games. But like just in general, I mean, like it's very simple, it's very bare bones. And then you go to Final Fantasy 2, which has a crazy like, you know, story about like rebellion and like an empire, you know, like the first Empire story, and I don't know, Final Fantasy 2,
like
yeah, dude speaking beaver, and like it just like that game rules. Like I don't know why people hate it so much, especially considering, man, and I don't know, I get a lot of hate for this. I think Final Fantasy 3 sucks.
You know what? Like, you know what? I kind of agree.
Yeah,
it's not that much different from 2. It's really not.
It's the groundwork for the good job system.
Yes,
but it didn't hit the execution on it. And like going back and playing 3, like I played I think the DS version of 3. I was like, this is
that's the 3D one, right? That one has like the 3D. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a huge fan of that.
Fine. It's just not like. I'm a big 5 guy, so that's my like baseline for job system.
5, you're gonna hate 3, like straight up. Also, have you ever beaten 3?
Yeah, a couple times.
That last
Final
stretch,
final boss.
That last stretch is like with no save points and no healing locations or anything like that. It's the worst stretch in RPG history. Oh, maybe not the worst, but like, damn, it's up there.
It's up there. Yeah, it's because like the particle beam masochism. Is that what that? I'm pretty sure it's Cloud of Darkness's move that like you literally can't survive it if you don't have enough HP. So you have to grind. Like it's literally.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you could do some kind of RNG manip or like something to like not have her do it, but like or like count the HP so you can like bypass a phase or something. But like that's too advanced to critical path. You know, like that's ridiculous.
If it's your first time playing it, right? Like if it's your first time playing, you don't know what's coming.
Or maybe you're gonna get, and it's like a 2-hour dungeon that you can't save.
It's 2 hours. It's like 2 like well, no.
It's like a Phantasy Star 2-esque dungeon.
But I'm glad that you mentioned Final Fantasy. I will reel this back in because as a fisherman, because the GBA was like a Final Fantasy fan's dream. You know, you had Dawn of Souls 1 and 2, and then you had the GBA versions of FF4, FF5, and FF6, which, you know, a lot of people still agree that those are the definitive versions.
Especially when it comes to the translation, for sure. 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
I go back and forth on that because I really like the Woolsey charm, but like, you know, in terms of like actual
like,
quality.
The most divisive figure in gaming.
Oh yeah,
from the 90s. Like, I've been just because we've been doing the Super RPG Friends, we've been doing Earthbound, and we're doing Chrono Trigger next, just trying to do readings on the translation. I've got Tomatoes Legends of Localization book behind me, and he talks. He has everybody has a foreword by Ted Woolsey. Any book written about a Super Nintendo game has.
This podcast does too.
It's Woolsey. Oh shit, no. But like very divisive figure. You know, like it goes back and forth. People are like, oh, you know, I watch videos on YouTube. Trying to bone up on Chrono Trigger again, and like all the videos on YouTube I've watched have talked about hating him, and all the books that I'm reading a book on Chrono Trigger, and I'm reading like an essay on Chrono Trigger, and both of those they're like, oh, you know, Woolsey knew what he was doing, you know, he was the guy to watch.
No one can say Super RPG Friends don't do their fucking research.
Oh my god,
best co-host in the world.
But yeah, no. So that was a really big Renaissance period, I think, for like Square and Nintendo had just started to mend their relationship. You had Crystal Chronicles for the GameCube, and there's another. There's at least one. Oh, yeah, Sword of Mana. Brownie Brown as a developer started to sort of like come
Nick,
up.
we're
And,
talking about mana today, actually. We were just talking about Sword of Mana and stuff like that today. Sword of Mana is one of my favorites in the Mana series, which I tend to be a little critical of. So
oh yeah,
I love
se-
Sword of Mana.
so like the Mana series to me, like I love it. Like Secret of Mana has probably one of my favorite soundtracks in video game history.
Secret of Mana and Secret Evermore don't do it
Oh,
for me.
Secret. Oh,
Senken Densetsu 3, though? Senken Densetsu 3, Sword of Mana, and fucking Legend of Mana? Ooh.
I loved Evermore as a kid for some reason.
So
I can't
obtuse.
get into it. I can't get into it now, but like as a kid, I really loved it. No, the soundtracks are phenomenal for both of those games.
They are good. Fucking the music is top notch. I will always give it that 100%.
My first experience with Secret of Mana though was on the PS4.
Oh no.
Oh
Yeah.
God, that version too. Yeah.
Well, okay, so here's what I always say about that, and it's like it's a 1-to-1 remake. The gameplay is the exact same. You know, like
it never was that great.
Oh, true, but I fucking love it. I love Secret of Mana.
The first time you fucking whipped out a multi-tap and played Secret of Mana like with your friends as a kid is like magical. It really is. It's one of the. It's like the first time you. It's like the first time you play a Tales game with friends. You know, you're just like, oh my god, I'm playing an RPG with my fucking friends. This is
speaking
awesome.
of Tales, this is actually relevant to this conversation because I played Tales of Symphonia. That was I think I technically played Fantasia first, but I played Symphonia with I think two of my friends, and I have never seen such abject hatred for a video game more than they hated Tales. Like they fucking hated it, man. Like
Tales isn't for everyone. It took like I'm kind of like with the Mana series. I'm a little picky when it comes to which Tales games I'll revisit or play.
Mm-hmm.
But like when that series hits, it fucking hits. Like I'm really excited for Arise, honestly, because I see some like stylish action game style combos, and I'm just like, I will mourn the loss of co-op, but I will embrace I love the embracing of like, okay, you guys want fucking crazy combos and intentional cancels, because like I see a lot of crazy stuff like Tails combo videos, and it really a lot of it is like exploiting bugs in the combat systems or things that might not be intended. But I really like the Tales of Arise is full on. They're like, you want cancels? Like, what? This is fucking Guilty Gear, bro. Let's go.
Yeah.
Roman, cancel it. Like,
yeah, you got yellow, purple, green, blue. Yeah. But no, man, I don't want to get too into the granularity of these series because, like, I find Tales very mid as a whole, and I don't like love it. But
same.
But at the same time, I don't have abject hatred. And okay, so. I pride myself on one thing, and it's being able to integrate people of different friend groups into things that they may not have been comfortable with. And so, like, I had a bunch of friends in high school who were like kind of jock bros, and I got them into Phantasy Star Online. These are the same kids that I tried to get to play Tales.
About that.
Yeah, no, that's coming, man. That's my.
Trust me, I have it. I'm like, I can't wait to talk. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I listen. I grinded for a Psycho Wand, okay? Legit.
Oh, dude.
Anyway, we'll touch back on that.
Yeah, we will. I tried to get them to play Tales because I was like, okay, I'll make you a weeb somehow, and
somehow
it just didn't work. They hated it so much, and that kind of made me reflect on it. And I was like, what do I like about Symphonia? That's like, I don't know. It's difficult to say. I think a big thing of it was that I liked Lloyd Irving's voice actor because he was Robin in Teen Titans, and that was
I think
that's all it took.
Yeah,
Symphonia is one of those games that when you go back and play it, you really are. You're like, I mean, this was okay. Like, I think a lot of us just played. I think Symphonia was a lot of people's first Tales game. Like, if we're talking people who don't frequent internet forums and hear about all the old games and stuff like that, I think for a lot of us, Symphonia was the biggest like mainstream hit of the series. So I think it's one of those games that a lot of people have, unbeknownst to them, heavy nostalgia goggles for. Like the story, like I don't know. It's just I think it came out at the right time for a lot of people, or it was their first exposure to the series. But it's one of those ones that doesn't really lend itself that greatly to replaying. Like you really start to see it, and you're like, especially after you played like I'm a big fan of like Vesperia and Bessaria. And
Yeah, I was
those
gonna
ones,
say Vesperia is probably a lot of people's first.
Yeah, that was in terms of like
because that one was
Vesperia is great.
huge.
Yuri is one of my favorite JRPG protagonists. Like when he took the law into his own hands in that one scene, when he was like, "Well, this like lord got away. I'm just gonna go kill him in the dead of night." And they never like explicitly like they don't show it. They just find someone like confronting Yuri at night, and he's just like, "What? I'm not doing anything." And then in the morning, they're like, "The Lord was found dead," and they never just say like Yuri killed this guy. But it's so clearly implied, and I appreciate that they kind of respected our intelligence enough to give us something that was obvious, but they never outright said it. That they're just like, this
extremely obvious.
Subtlety is like
it is. It is.
But it's a subtle,
definitely obvious
for a series that is so ham-fisted.
Yeah,
something like
that's
that
what it comes into. Yeah,
is very. But it's funny. Last episode that we did, I tried the entire episode not to say ham-fisted because it's one of those words that like I just fall back on to describe something.
I use that all the time too.
And I broke it.
Not kidding. If you read my writing, I like, gosh, at least it's like I couldn't go 3 reviews without saying ham-fisted.
Well, like, it's so common in video games. It's like hard not to talk about that as an adjective, like
yeah,
and I feel you.
Almost all games are like almost all series, and especially in RPGs, very guilty of doing, especially story related, ham-fisted. But I was gonna say, one, I actually know somebody who loves the sequel to Symphonia.
Really?
It's like not like a terrible game, but it's like what?
No, but like he prefers it over Symphonia. Like that's what's wild to me.
No, that's a contrarian. That's who that.
I mean, like I don't know. This guy doesn't have too many contrarian ideas. You know what I mean? Like he, you know, like I know contrarians, and like this dude isn't one of them. He's just like he knows what he likes. You know, he mostly plays VNs, which is kind of.
I get it. Yeah, contextually that makes sense.
Why he likes the sequel.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
I have a kind of a hot take. Really, like my contrarianism is that I kind of liked the GameCube more than the PS2. I mean, does the PS2 have better games? Yeah, probably, definitely.
GameCube was more powerful, wasn't it?
Yeah, but in terms of like software and whatever, I just had a better experience with the GameCube than the PS2, and part of that is because my PS2 kind of broke like halfway through the cycle. So like I played the game, I played FF10, I played 12, I played Dragon Quest 8, I played all the big boys, but like mostly. But like I just ended up going back to my GameCube so much, and it's because of one reason.
Phantasy Star Online.
Phantasy Star Online.
Nick, do you have any experience? Have you played any FSO?
I played so.
Wait, do we have the same water bottle? Hold on.
Did that come out on the? No.
Oh, okay. I thought we
okay. I was
legally blind.
We
sorry.
Just become best friends.
Did PSO come out on Dreamcast?
Originally, yes.
Yeah, I played that.
Okay, you played the original.
I was a Dreamcast boy.
Yeah.
I was a big Dreamcast boy.
Ports and ports, baby.
And I loved it on Dreamcast too, but it just didn't really click with me as much because I didn't play my Dreamcast a ton.
And never had a Dreamcast.
So it was like,
I played so much Hydro Thunder. And so much Power Stone.
Hell yeah. Power Stone's great.
And Crazy Taxi.
Joey, I feel like I'm happy that I can tell you this. My first 200 and my main, Deuce, he was an RA cast. I made him long before I understood how section IDs worked.
Oh yeah,
He
same. That was yep.
He was a Pinkle.
Oh no!
A Pinkle RA cast. So what? For people that don't know, based on your name, you have different drop tables because you get something called a section ID that's determined by a bunch of numbers with the characters in your name, and that determines what your drops. I was an android who shot guns. Androids can't use music. My section ID was
tech discs.
Yeah, my section ID was specialized for mages with wands. Yeah,
so you had a higher chance to get tech discs.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll never forget, and that's what led to. I think honestly, that might have what led to the true addiction because I wanted rare items, so I just started making characters.
But so
like
this is what's interesting though, is that like that despite the fact that your section ID wasn't good for your character, it doesn't mean that you couldn't farm with it. It's just that like what you could farm with wasn't really going to be what that character used. But I think I'm not this much of like an encyclopedia, but I'm pretty sure Pinkle did have I think like a high chance for God Arm. So it wasn't
Milla. You could get
that's
Gilded
true.
Milla.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. I did make, I believe it was a Greenhill. That was the one I natural farmed a spread needle and a Gilded Milla. I did this. I actually have never played the GameCube version online. It was all me and my crazy drunk Russian best friend at the time. All we did was fucking play PSO offline and level characters and try to get it. There was an obsession that came in some way, but I'm not sure, because when you think about it, PSO is just a third-person sci-fi Diablo. Yeah, it really is. It's just, you're just mowing down groups of enemies, grinding for rare drops, and I still can't really put exactly what grips me so much about that game. Maybe it's the true rare items being so grossly different and having such unique aspects that it really makes you want to put hours in to play it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the general aesthetic. Like, I didn't even actually, the first time I played a Phantasy Star game that wasn't PSO was the Game Boy Advance collection.
Oh yeah, really good time to be a Phantasy Star fan too. It gave me such hopes that there might be a 5. And we got episode 3 instead. But
I'll never card games.
I don't want to be too exclusive to. I don't want to be like so inclusive about the subject that poor Nick is like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. But did you play the Phantasy Star collection for GBA, Nick?
No. So I've never. I didn't play any of the GBA versions of the Phantasy Star games.
Oh. Man.
Have you played the original trilogy of Phantasy Star at all?
No, I've only played 4 actually.
That's the best one.
I played some of 1.
4 is objectively the best entry, so
I thought 4 was incredible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
4 was very ahead of its time. I played that game like far after the fact, and I remember just being like, "Wow, these cutscenes! Like, it's got the Ninja Gaiden-esque cutscenes." And I feel like if I try to think back, like time-wise, I'm pretty sure that might be like the first RPG to really shoot for those heavily cinematic cutscenes, and I really think it lended a lot. Like, even when I was older, I felt the death of the character that dies in that game and such. Like, it's very cool. It was a game that just impressed me.
Turbo Graphics, especially the CD add-on, had a lot of RPGs that sort of had a similar thing. But yeah, in terms of like, I mean, how many people in the U.S. really had a Turbo Graphics? Not many, So it's like
one person.
Yeah, only the rich white kids had Turbo Graphics.
He had a Neo Geo too. It was crazy.
Oh wow, no, that kid was stacked, man.
Yeah, no kidding.
His dad did.
The Phantasy Star's biggest problem though is that the spells didn't make sense at all to us.
Yeah,
maybe it made sense in Japanese, but I don't know. Like it was just like these random like 3-letter or 4-letter words.
Yeah, it was like that with SMT as well, but it seemed way more esoteric in Phantasy Star for some reason.
Yeah, well, another thing is probably because SMT had like a naming scheme.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was like Bufu, and then if it's going to hit everybody, it's Ma Bufu. If the second tier is going to be Bufala, and if it's going to be second tier hits everybody, it's Ma Bufala. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that one, it was, and it sucks too because Phantasy Star obviously went crazier with some of their stuff. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't just like, oh, this is an ice attack. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like there were attacks in Phantasy Star, and I would always forget which one it was, but there's one where it just like summons a storm and just like drops like tons of lightning on everybody, and I'm like, oh, this graphic is so cool. I'm never going to remember what the spell is.
And it was like inconsistent in the other ones. Cause like in Phantasy Star Online, it's like, there's Foy.
You spell your name.
Yeah, that's how it's called. There's like Foy, Barda, and
Zongi?
Zonde, yeah.
Yeah,
Not to be
Zonde. Yep,
confused
that's
with
it.
not to be confused with Legend Te Zonde, but
No, the absolute
no.
legend.
There was rain.
Yeah,
It
it
just
was
wasn't chocolate.
the
So
the
What a
prefixes.
reference.
The prefixes were Ge for the second tier
and
and
then
Ra for the third tier.
Mhm.
You had Grants and Megan, and yeah, it was really Jellin. Like who's
Jellin,
like
yeah,
Jellin? That's gonna
right
lower
there.
their attack for sure. Like,
Well, I
Weird.
think so. You were talking about what makes Phantasy Star Online compelling. I think this is a really good issue to explore because I think it perfectly encapsulates this era a lot. And I think it's even though the game did come out on Dreamcast, but like, okay, let's break this down. So first of all, you have a series that was kind of like a different take on an older series, like Phantasy Star Online versus Phantasy Star Prime, right? So like you had a lot of people who like grew up playing those games and was like, dude, I'm gonna get that game because it's like the thing that I like and it's like different. So it's a thing, and so a lot of people did that. It was sort of anime, like overtly in a way that was like unabashed because a lot of the times, or a lot of the games that were coming out around this time, were kind of afraid to show their anime roots. Like I think really only like Ease and like a couple big games like were upfront about that and marketed as that. And
Bot Kaitos too.
but Baten Kaitos is still like that came out a little later, and it was also it was also kind of like FF10 for Nintendo. Like because Final Fantasy does. I mean, Final Fantasy's like anime or whatever, but compared to its cohorts, it kind of wasn't. Like it was a lot more Western inspired. It like took a more, I guess, like
the success of the series in the West, starting with 7, and by success I mean the like straight to the moon success. I definitely think influenced the development of the future titles past post 7. 7 still feels pretty weeby, but I feel like especially with 8, I feel like 8 in Final Fantasy has a lot of Western influences.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like a lot. You can see it. They definitely tone it back with 9 because 9 has the general retro feel to it. But then they come back to it again with 10, where it has a lot of Western influence, and you can tell.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you compare that to like Dragon Quest and like Tales and stuff like that, those games still have they're still very Japanese in their DNA, very uncompromisingly Japanese in the game's DNA.
Right, and this is also during a time when Sega axed consoles, and they were like almost a Nintendo second party. It was a really weird situation, and so Nintendo pushed marketing for PSO hard for a game that like didn't really have that much of an audience outside of enthusiasts. Like it really wasn't a thing, and it was like this kind of killer app for the modem plural because there's two. There's a dial-up and a broadband, and the only online games for the NA or in NA GameCube were Phantasy Star Online 1 and 2, and then Episode 3. I don't think there was any other online stuff, and it was like the thing that was carrying it. And then you had shit like the GameCube keyboard controller.
Yeah, fuck yeah!
Really,
hell yeah! The cousin of the typing of the dead Dreamcast. Fucking.
Oh, I've got mine still. I had to take it.
Oh fuck yeah, that's beautiful.
I've got my Dreamcast keyboard, but not a GameCube one.
That one is so wacky, dude. It's like I played Melee on that for a while.
You monster! It's beautiful.
I would do friendlies at tournaments with the keyboard controller.
I used the TO, and that you're the kind of person that I'm always like, I'm gonna give him a good seed. He's gonna go up against people that he can beat. So he can be like, look at this dude, he fucking got here with the keyboard controller. Hell yeah.
the Joey and the Bad Seeds is my band name, really.
Beautiful.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that was like really going. That game for its time, because like you said, it was like sort of like a console Diablo, and it is 100%. And it was just so like, I feel like people who played it during that time, the marketing was so specifically tied to. It tried to be more than just enthusiasts, but enthusiasts like really ate that game up, and it was like kind of their baby for GameCube. Like I'm speaking, from experience myself because that was my shit, and I feel like people who played that a lot like really stuck with it and have like a lot of loyalty for it, and it's super interesting to see that now. And it's like the PS2 didn't really have anything quite like that, and it was the
Most
whole
of the
idea of like
online stuff on PS2 was like SOCOM and stuff like
SOCOM,
that,
yeah.
like shooters and stuff
Well,
like that.
Final Fantasy 11.
Final 11,
Yeah, that's
but
true.
that came out
100%.
later.
Matrix
Yeah, that
Online,
came
I
out
think,
later.
or
yeah.
was it like
What was the
the?
second one?
I thought didn't the Matrix on like have a PS2 game that was online? Was either the Matrix Online or like Enter the Matrix or
There's Enter the Matrix and Path of Neo. Neither of those are online, but Enter the Matrix has that like hacking cheating thing where you actually do like a console command bullshit.
I must be thinking of something different.
But yeah, so it was like, you know, you have these burgeoning online markets for consoles, and it was interesting to see Nintendo take the most ridiculous route with that. Like,
That's Nintendo right there, right?
oh yeah. So it's like, I have so many good memories of playing that game with my friends, and like, I got a story for you, Frank, because you're gonna know what's coming up here. So I had a level 200 Humar. It was my first. And then I had like a bunch of alts that were like 100, 150. I had a legit Lavis cannon. Like, I farmed it myself. It was...
Oh, you know what? I think Frank's computer died.
Okay, I'll wait to share the story. Yeah, he's frozen. I thought he was just stoic.
I thought he was pissed. Like that's trouble. Like Frank doesn't get mad. You know what I mean? Like Frank, like sometimes he gives me a little bit of shit, but overall he's very bubbly, I would say. And like for him to get locked in that, I was like scared.
Oh,
you know,
that
I
was
was like,
so
oh my
good,
god,
dude. That was
he
so
looks
good.
so angry. You know, like what happened? And I'm listening to your story, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know a whole lot about PSO, but like nothing you said has like made me think like Frank would have a negative reaction.
I just made Frank rage quit for the first time. There he is. I
So
think.
Frank's computer has a problem where it freezes sometimes.
This time, I don't know. It's that new router I got. I'm not sure what happened. Sorry about that. I ran around and I unplugged my router and just plugged my PC right in and was like, no, not right now.
Dude,
Fuck
you
that.
were frozen when I was talking about farming a legit Lavis cannon, and I thought I like comatose you offline. Like I was, I thought you were like just in encephalitis lethargica. Like it's
like Frank, I was worried. Like you looked pissed.
Yeah,
I probably got my last moment of like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, you were like this.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Frank, you should appreciate this little anecdote I have about PSO. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, and you're gonna know what I'm talking about right away. So I farmed a legit Lavis cannon. I had a level 200 Humar and a bunch of alts that were on 100, 150. A bunch of rare shit. I had a spread needle. I had a snow queen.
Hell yeah.
One day, I go online, and every time I have to go online, I have to ask permission to my parents. They had dial-up, right? And
no phone calls, no nothing. I need to play PSO.
And my dad would not install a filter. So, like, if you picked it up, you know, you get cut offline. And I was like, Dad, you need to install a filter. It kicks me offline. He's just, like, so vehemently against it. So I log on PSO.
What say everyone?
And then all of a sudden my game freezes because he had picked up the phone. Now,
so like,
you know this is going. PSO had a problem where it sometimes if you got disconnected because it had an autosave. If you got disconnected when you were autosaving, yeah, and it corrupted your whole memory card.
Oh, no, not that one.
Everything on my memory card was wiped. And my main, like 90%
I'm retroactively sorry. Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
I cried. I'm not even gonna fucking front. I definitely cried.
You're saying memory card? Does that mean like the entire, like not just PSO?
Yeah, the whole memory card. My 250 emblems in Sonic Adventure 2 battle. My Chow Garden. Everything.
No, that sucks.
Everything. My folder of anime naughties. No, I'm kidding. Everything was gone.
Okay.
We've all been that age.
No, you know what? Full disclosure. Never Never. Anime naughties were a level I will never go to. Like
He's mommy milkers or nothing.
yeah, like they had to be real mommy milkers. I don't want anime. This took a turn. All right, all right, here we are.
Hey, how do you guys feel about Mega Man RPGs? I feel like we're in the one situation where I can talk about Mega Man RPGs. No, not mommy milkers. Mega
Man RPGs. Yeah, There you go. That was really good. Props. Great stuff.
You like that?
So Frank, you should appreciate this too. This podcast started as a Mega Man podcast.
So when I joined Jump and Shoot, I was like, I know what this is a reference to. Yeah. I know. I have the tattoo.
The logo may have given it away. But yeah, it started as a Mega Man podcast. So we were planning an episode about Command Mission, and we just never got there. But let's talk about the Mega Man games in here. Frank, Nick, are you a fan of Mega Man at all?
That's a tough call. I'm gonna say no, but like I've played a lot of Mega Man games. I played a lot of them on the. I played 1 through 5. I think I owned 1 through 5 on the NES. And I actually have recently played Command Mission.
Oh, nice. How did you like it?
Oh, I wanted to talk about Command Mission.
So like, it's not my jam. I
love Command Mission.
It's stupid fun. It's stupid fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's got a great battle system. It's fun to see Mega Man doing things that he isn't normally doing, like with new characters and stuff like that. As someone who's a big Mega Man fan in general, I appreciate what a RPG did to expand the X universe, which is my personal jam out of all the Mega Mans, is the X universe.
Too bad it's not canon.
Who cares about Mega Man canon?
It's my favorite genre, which
Mega Man X4 was supposed to end Mega Man X was supposed to end after 4, or 5. Yeah.
My favorite genre is games that are RPGs from like series that traditionally aren't RPGs.
Yeah.
And that's
Sonic
just
Dark Brotherhood.
It's just stupid fun. It's
BioWare, fucking Sonic.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Perfect though.
Oh yeah, no, I liked it. That was like this is 6th generation was such a strange kind of like
a lot of
transitory. Yeah, like there was a lot of experimentation for it, at least like relative to the generation that came after and where we are now. Like, and I feel like there's a lot of like throwing shit at the wall. So this is like, it's kind of like I guess sort of like a more of an
Battle Network.
Battle Network, hell yeah.
Battle Network is one of that's outside of X, my favorite, as much as I love Classic and Zero, and Legends 2, of course. Like, Battle Network is a very important series to me. I had a lot of social aspects. Like, I would sit at lunch playing Battle Network 2 and 3 with my friends. We would net battle. Every day we would come with some new folder we read on GameFAQs that was completely broken, and it would be a process to try to figure out how to beat it. Like, I definitely am. We're going to make a point to play one of the Battle Network games when we get to Game Boy Advance on Super RPG Friends. Yeah, but it's a very odd, like the grid based action RPG thing. The deck building that appealed to. I played some TCG at the time, so the deck building really appealed to me. For me, I really like Command Mission, and Command Mission definitely is a really cool thing. But if we're gonna say Mega Man RPGs, the Battle Network it blew my mind. I mean, we had 1 through 6 on one system, full on 20+. And if you do post game stuff, especially starting with Battle Network 3, it's one of those games where, like Dragon Quest XI, the post game is like half the game. Battle Network 3 afterwards, say Battle Network 4 is literally built that you beat it 3 times with differing bosses and everything like that. You could have a completely unique playthrough on Battle Network. I hate Battle Network 4 if we're talking about the entire
I hear that a lot.
But yeah,
I haven't played anything past 2. I couldn't tell you.
Oh, 3. As much as 2 feels like the most important game in the series for what it did to the formula, but 3 was like the perfection of it, and then 6 was the second best, I would say, if we're talking like strictly gameplay.
Yeah, here's my Mega Man card. Handing it to you because I've only played Battle Network 1 and 2. Thanks for taking it.
Thank you, sir.
But it was fun while it lasted. But so okay, it's weird. I've noticed this trend with because I think we're probably around the same age, and I noticed the latter part of the millennial generation was like super into Battle Network. And then, like, the older, more boomery millennials like myself, and assumingly you guys as well, are more of, like, a side-scroller Mega Man thing. And it's like, I rarely see fluidness there. So it's really interesting to see that. And it's not like I don't like Battle Network. I love it. I love the 2 games I played. I just, like... After the first 2 games, I started getting distracted by WoW. So like, there was their time.
That'll do it.
Yeah,
yeah, that'll do it. Yeah,
like
I said, definitely a lot of, especially like in the 2 and 3 era, a lot of that was like lunchtime, hanging out with my friends, hooking up the link cables. And that brought a lot to the series for me. Definitely the community aspect. I would have loved the series if I didn't have that specific moment in time. But that really definitely, that's what made me fall for the series big time, was actually getting to take advantage. Because especially with, like, you don't always have the ability to take advantage of the multiplayer aspects of these multiplayer games,
Yeah.
Like, you could just live in a town where no one but you has it. That's an entirely plausible thing. So it's always interesting with these kind of games to see that everyone has a different experience. Like me, if we go back to PSO, I only played PSO offline with my friends. And for someone who actually did play it online and stuff, it's a completely different kind of experience,
Oh, yeah. And I had both. So it was like a kind of a fascinating dynamic there. And it's funny because I live in Chicago. It's not like it's a small town. It's not like, I feel like during that time, so many of my friends had just like stepped away from video games because it was like early high school. I think, wait, when did GBA and GameCube come out? It was 2003, 2002?
Yeah, 2003.
GameCube was the first console I ever bought with my own money. GBA I got I think it was like a Christmas present. But GameCube was my first one that I bought with my own money. And so, like, it was weird that I think during that time people dropped off. And it's like a lot of my friends were, like, playing sport or, like,
play FIFA.
Teenagers. What's that, Frank?
I said, you guys want to play some FIFA?
Did you grow up in the city proper? Or?
No, I was born here, but then I went to high school in the burbs.
Which one?
Should I say this on the podcast? Riverside Brookfield area.
Oh, okay, all right.
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar?
I'm from deep burbs, Batavia.
Oh yeah,
Geneva, St. Charles area.
Yeah. Gotcha. So south.
You got the Chicago boys, baby.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. No wonder you fucking like the sauce. All right.
I'm down in Dallas now, so
that's not Illinois, no.
No, it's.
He's from Chicago, and he's spent the past 20 years perfecting a sauce and crust recipe, and he just makes deep dishes and tavern style out of his kitchen and sells them. And it's the best Chicago style thin end stuff I've ever had in my life. Like, it's amazing. It's the fucking cornmeal, bro, in the crust. That's what
dude.
I'm telling you.
It's part of it, but like he's got to import the water from like Michigan or something like that.
Yeah, the water is a huge reason. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. My favorite New York style guy.
I can't get good pizza down here.
Oh, in Dallas, no. Pizza there is sustenance. You don't eat it for flavor. You eat it just to put something in your stomach. Yeah.
Over Christmas, I got Nancy's and Giordano's ordered. I had them box it up and send me deep dish pizzas down here.
Giordano's worst chain in me. I'll fuck with Lou Malnati's, but Giordano. This is now a pizza podcast.
See, I love Lou's. Lou's got that butter crust. Lou's has that butter crust, and it's amazing. All right, but for my money, if you're gonna get a deep dish chain, and I'm gonna say chain because there are a lot of good, obviously a lot of good pizza joints down there, just like 1 or 2 shops. But the best chain I think is Nancy's.
Oh, Nancy's great. Yeah,
Nancy's great.
I'll
I'll
fuck with that.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Shit. Speaking, did you guys have any Game Boy Advance games that you guys did some like person-to-person gaming with, like link cable and stuff like that? Like Shining Force, maybe any Shining Force guys?
Oh yeah, dude, Shining Force, my shit.
Shining Force
And Shining Soul.
Do we want to talk Diablo? Shining Force, like the Shining Soul. My bad, not Force.
But there was
Soul
a Shining Force 1 remake.
There was, yes, that was my first exposure to playing Shining Force, and I love that, especially when it was like, hey, swords and sorcery, guess what? Robots and science, let's do this. Like, that's so cool. Shining Soul, I played so much.
Speaking of games that are originally on the Genesis that are now on the GBA, right? Like that's...
Phantasy Star,
Shining point Force. That, like, Sega was basically becoming a second-party studio to Nintendo.
Yep.
That's wild.
Camelot, and Camelot made
Golden Sun.
Golden Sun.
And
We've been holding it up. We know we're going to talk about Golden Sun here.
I was saving Golden Sun because it was such a low-hanging fruit that's so easy to talk about. But yeah, no, it really was like. And Fire Emblem too, if we're on the subject of like strategy.
I was thinking Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem 7, baby.
So I played on the GBA actually. What was just known as just Fire Emblem, right?
But
I played that right before, like 2 months before Awakening came out.
Okay.
Because I'd never played Fire Emblem before, and I wanted to know if I would like it. It was, so I played all that, and then I played all of Sacred Stones, because I ended up liking Fire Emblem so much.
Love Sacred Stones too.
We have fucking Advance Wars to thank for that, man.
Intelligent Systems.
The splash that Advance Wars made stateside was what made them go, okay, let's try Fire Emblem. Let's see if this works. Honestly, I'm really excited to see
Smash Brothers
Melee.
Yeah, dude.
That's what did it.
I'm excited to see what the mainline, like the grown North American Fire Emblem community. I really think they're gonna love the Advanced Wars remake. I think they're really gonna embrace it because they're gonna see how similar of a series it is. Like, and the remake looks great, honestly.
Because Advance Wars was its own game, and then they made Melee, which spawned off a bunch of spin-off Fire Emblem games that had, from the Melee canon character Marth, right?
And Roy,
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Melee canon.
Marth and Ness, two characters that never had games outside of Smash Bros. But
never.
So. But yeah, Advance Wars. I have all the Advance Wars games. Love those. I have a love-hate relationship with those, but those aren't really RPGs, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's just this
the RPG-ish.
That's just like I feel like we just focus on RPGs. We talk about.
Hey,
so all right, if you want me to go off on a rant here, no. So Advance Wars are like a strategy puzzle game. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like, because you can boil your an Advance Wars level down to I can do this in like 4 or 5 moves, right?
Right.
Like if you do it right, if you pay attention,
forward thinking.
Right. Exactly.
What can I do later?
And I think what's interesting is that completely different studio, completely different company even, but Mario and Rabbids is the same thing. All right, Mario and Rabbids has the exact same formula where it's not about like actually playing in these RPG elements. It's not about strategy or anything. It's more of a puzzle game, And I find that like I mean like obviously I think Advance Wars is better, but I think it's really interesting that these two games exist and are going to both exist on the Switch because we have a new Mario and Rabbids game coming out and then this Advance Wars HD game coming out, and you're gonna see like. I think Advance Wars does a really good job of that, and I think that Mario and Rabbids does a really bad job of that. Mm-hmm. And I'm really hoping that people that really liked Mario and Rabbids can see the I'll check out this Advance Wars game and see it done right.
Yeah, no,
not
I
to
feel that.
Oh wow, okay.
Rabbids, but like, I mean, because I did like that game, but
I haven't played that yet. I have it, but I just haven't. I haven't played it. Just one of those.
The first couple hours are awesome,
Mm-hmm.
but
I mean,
like
I
everything
XCOM.
after that,
It's basically Mario
it's not
XCOM, right?
No.
Oh, it's not. Oh shit. Okay.
No, XCOM, you can approach XCOM from a dozen different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And XCOM gets better, like XCOM 2, where they introduce all the stuff to kind of like make you move forward and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mario and Luigi, it's less of an XCOM game, more of a puzzle game.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah,
So
and
like,
I feel like that's why I resonated more with Fire Emblem than I did Advance Wars. I mean, I liked Advance Wars a lot, and I was really stoked. Like, one of my most wanted characters for Smash for the longest time was Andy, you know, and it still kind of is because I thought that'd be super unique.
Hitting wrenches and shit
yeah, for
like
sure.
that.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
I love talking about Nintendo products in like the context of like Smash because like I feel like you tend to like sort of encapsulate an entire series and how it would fit into Smash. It's just like an interesting way to approach this guy. I don't know where I'm going with this. Sorry.
happens.
I got you.
Thanks.
Like, I understand what you're saying.
It's interesting because like the difference is that you can have like, okay, like in Advanced Wars, everything is very set. You know, like this can't be stronger than what it's meant to be. In like Fire Emblem or like say like to even go even further into like the RPG, like Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, you can do certain things that you can make a character so influential to the battle flow that you don't have to really completely obey by the intended rules of the encounter.
Right.
Mario Rabbids and Advanced Wars, they're very set in that. You know, like it's like this is what you have. We know what you as the player have, and we've built this encounter around your capabilities as the player. You know, without any kind of like you can be this way or this way. And I think that's really cool.
Right.
Like you said, when you said it's more like a tactical RPG / puzzle, I was like, damn, that's a really good way of putting it.
I never thought of it that way too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we know because Fire Emblem does go into that territory, especially if you play in harder difficulties. It very much.
And if you do no deaths, if you do restart on deaths, Fire Emblem restart on deaths.
That shit with your characters dying. If you don't reset, fuck you.
Yeah, so you gotta save them.
Like, okay, if I have a character, on character death, you just reset. You gotta, you know, and if it takes you 2 to 3 minutes, that sucks.
Start select, baby. Let's do it. Start over.
Like, I have to be like the super American like action movie hero who's like no one gets left behind.
Yeah.
100%.
100%. I refuse to let anybody die.
Yeah, same. Not on my watch, baby.
Hector will save us all.
Hector, unless he gets fucking the shittiest roads, which happened to me in hard mode.
Yeah, I know, but I just want Hector in Smash, man. I want a slow Smash character.
Why they don't put Hector in Smash? Like, put in a Fire Emblem characters that don't have swords.
I have strong opinions about, or at least like more diverse Fire Emblem characters. Not like demographically, but just like you have so many characters to choose from. You choose 3 characters from Awakening and no villains. Like it's so stupid. But that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Another subject. But I'll go off on there.
Did anyone play? Am I the only one who played a really weird kind of action RPG on Game Boy Advance? It was called Cima, Cima, the Enemy.
Oh, yeah. I remember that game. I didn't get it. I saw it in Nintendo Power, though.
Joey, the stream, is it just set up to capture our stream? I prepared something really quick, so we can talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, it'll pick up whatever. Wait, I don't know how. Yeah. If share your screen on Discord, it'll pick it up.
Let's see.
Yeah, you might actually have to click into watch stream.
Yeah, here we go.
Let's see. Let me make sure.
Oh man, this is
translates on the stream.
We're seeing we're seeing your browser window here, Frank. There you go.
So yeah, this is so Cima the Enemy. What it is about is basically you are a collection of people who like woke up on this like alien planet, I believe.
Oh, you look like Adol.
Yeah, he does look like Adol. It's an action RPG, but also it's a strategy. You have to play like.
And Lady Dogi is following him.
6 to a
Sexy
bunch of
Yogi.
different characters at once, and you do action RPG fighting stuff, but you also command your entire group of people. The goal is to get them to the end safely. So you have to use this collection of 8 different like unique characters that have unique capabilities, classes, and stuff
It's
like
kinda
that.
sick. It looks
It's
like Shining
very
Soul
cool.
too. It looks a little bit like that.
Oh,
It's
now
fucking
you
anal!
It's definitely
It's such a cool. It's so unknown. This game is so unknown and it's so unique.
What is it called again?
It's called Cima, the enemy. Cima. It's one of the most unique games I've ever encountered in the way that it blends multiple genres, and it really makes you actively think, switch characters, and use the strengths of everyone you have access to. Like we were saying, games that are almost like puzzle solving, even though they're RPG. This is a similar one. There's a little bit of like stats and stuff like that, but it is very much an action RPG puzzle where you're like, okay, how am I going to save everyone I'm with?
Yeah, this looks sick. I'm sad I slept on this.
It's very cool. It's very fucking cool. You just don't see a lot of stuff like it. But that was definitely one that I wanted to talk about a little bit. It was a game that I remember. Like, see, there's different. You can equip all the different characters with items, healing items, equipment.
This is a GBA game.
Yes, it's a fucking GBA
looks like a DS
game, dude.
I know. It looks like it. It's impressive.
It is. It's technologically, it's an extremely impressive game, and it gets nowhere amount of attention that it deserves. Like, look at this. He's like literally equipping all these different characters. Like, this is. We can go even further into the game when there's like even more things actively going about.
Oh, interesting. Marvelous and Natsumi.
Yeah, that makes
what
a
a combo,
sense.
Right?
Like, it kind of looks like a Natsume game. You know what, Frank? I hate to break this to you, but you left your anime titty porn GFs or GIFs open on your tabs there.
Oh no!
you want to close.
Contact me, notifications, joy, 40 best GBA RPG. No, Foe. Yeah, that's
what it is.
Look at that.
Oh
See,
no!
You looked it up.
Here it is. Here it is. Look at that. There it is. The mosquito.
Yeah, that's the. Yep. It's funny because when you step outside in Phantasy Star 2, if you you can die from the first mob so easily.
So easy. That game is one of the grindiest fucking games I've ever played in my life, but it makes me still want to play it for some reason. And the dungeon design is abysmal. Literally some of the worst dungeon design I've ever seen in my life.
I don't know, man. Every dungeon's kind of Cave to Roan from Dragon Quest II in that game. But so people say Phantasy Star Online 2 is grindy. I kind of disagree because, yeah, it is. But if you just fight the battles that you're given, you're usually strong enough to where you don't have to.
No way. No, I hardcore disagree on that. There's the Sega Ages version of this game that has a mode that actually makes it reasonable to play without grinding for hours.
Wait, you're talking about Phantasy Star 1 or 2?
Yeah, are you talking about 1 or 2? Because
I don't think there's the same way.
Sega, is there a Sega Ages?
There is, but it's not in the US.
2?
Not in the US.
Sega Ages of 1 and 2, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We haven't gotten 2, but we got 1.
You said yet, though, so there's hope.
Yeah, I think we'll probably get it because they've been pushing that lately.
God, I hope so.
But I replayed it a couple years ago, and I was playing the one on the Genesis collection because I didn't feel like hooking on my Genesis, and I didn't grind once, and I was able to get through it.
I'm genuinely surprised, man. I have some hardcore grinding memories of that game.
Oh, I grind, dude. As a kid, I was insane. That game taught me to grind because I didn't understand it, and I was like, I'm just gonna sit here. I basically my end game was to press attack and only attack, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I did. I spent hours in each new area just grinding and grinding.
Are you streaming this because you wanted to prove to us that the mosquitoes weren't anime titties?
I just popped it up, honestly. I was like, we're talking about it. I'll pop it up. It might help for conversation.
I want to play Phantasy Star 1 and 2. I don't want to play 3. Because I've heard about 3.
Three is fine. It's fine. Is it as good as the others? Nah, but like it's fine. It has its quirks. It
I really like that I really like the diverging storylines of 3. That you can marry different people and stuff like that. That's something that I do really love about that game.
You say that because you like Romancing Saga, and that's why A, you a real one, and B, why you could appreciate Phantasy Star 3.
You caught me.
I got you, man. I caught you red-handed. I don't know what the color is.
Purple. I don't know. It's Phantasy Star.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of everything.
But yeah, I think like it's sad that series didn't really catch on to people on GBA. I feel like it's only kind of now that I see a lot of people playing Phantasy Star for the first time, the original games, and it's I don't know. I have such nostalgia for those games because that was like formative RPGs for me, for sure.
For sure. Well, there's a lot of the RPG genre kind of like learning what it was too, you know?
It's like, yeah, it's you learn like, especially because like I said, I grinded the shit out of Phantasy Star 2. You kind of learn the grammar of older JRPGs with those games. Like they're like really good crash courses. Because okay, Phantasy Star 1 has the kind of like SMT dungeon crawling stuff, so that you can check that off your box. Phantasy Star 2 has the ridiculously long dungeons that never end thing. That's common.
Never.
Phantasy 3.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah, true. And then Phantasy Star 3 has like the diverging. Sorry, we're getting off from the subject here.
Doesn't 3 also have like? I heard like 3 has like no map or anything like that. But not that that's necessarily unusual.
It does, but it's fragmented. What's the best? If you play Dragon Quest 7,
yeah,
it's sort of like that.
Okay.
Kind of.
Yeah, I've beaten Dragon Quest 7. I beat the DS one.
Yeah, I'm actually playing that as we speak. Not like right now, but I'm replaying it. Yeah, I'm going through the whole Dragon Quest series again. Just
7 was. I think 7 was. Yeah, 7 was the first one I beat.
I love 7. The job system in 7 is top notch.
That's nuts.
Well, it was the DS one.
Yeah. It's
right,
still, like kind of insane. I love it.
Yeah, it was great though. Like after that, ended up being, 9, 1, 2, 8, and 11. I kind of jumped around there. I don't like to go in order.
I love hearing people's orders for stuff like this. I always find it's
interesting.
Really interesting. Yeah. But yeah, back to the GBA and GameCube stuff. Another, you mentioned this earlier, Baten Kaitos. That's one of my favorite. I think that's one of my favorite JRPGs. Period. Although I haven't played it since it came out.
I have never played Baten Kaitos. I've always wanted to. I just never have.
So Baten Kaitos or Baten Kaitos Origins,
I consider. You know what? I don't know if this is cheating. I consider it one game.
Oh, okay.
But I think the first one's better, in a way.
I mean, like when you think about it, I hear that a lot too, and I would agree with it. But I think what they did, I think overall, I understand what you mean by having them by considering them a single game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
this motherfucker. This motherfucker.
I don't want to just assume, Joey. Is it cool that I'm just kind of sharing what we're talking about while we're talking about it?
I don't think I can get copyright striked for it, right? I don't know. I don't know.
We have no. I don't
care. Well, this long play archive, dude, might strike you.
No,
I doubt it. But I could stop.
I mean, like it's us talking over it, so
yeah. I don't have. Yeah, we're using it as a discussion piece.
Sure. Yeah.
I also like that the greatest thing that came from Baten Kaitos though is that there are 100% speedrunners for the game.
Ooh.
And for those of you that don't know, yeah, because there's a card. It's a card, right?
You have to level it up, and it takes real time.
Yeah, it's something like
it's a bean or something. I don't remember.
What?
Yeah, and it's something that like you can do in like it takes It's supposed to take like a really long period of time, but speedrunners can do it in like 13 days or something like that, or like 12 days or something like that. I'm gonna have to pick it up.
There's something about saying speedrunners can do it in
Days.
13 days that is like, you're like, oh wow, only 13 days? That's amazing. That's crazy. Wow.
So yeah, it grows over real time.
Okay.
And it's based off the clock, I believe. So like, I don't remember. It's been a really long time since I played this game, but I remember trying to 100% it, and I was like, I'm not going to do that. That's too much.
So I should look up what the current world record is. But it takes 300 hours to level up this card.
Okay,
so
hours, yeah.
like the world record will be something like 340. Like this one, 4 years ago, the world record was 341 hours, 20 minutes, and 3 seconds.
That's it. Dude. That's like no time. Imagine learning that game. That's the absurdity. I can't. But I love this game a lot. It has a lot of people get put off by this card system, and I'm watching this thing that you're doing or this gameplay footage, and it's like they're not really playing these right. You're supposed to go like in ascending or descending order, and this guy's like kind of not really.
Does it give you
playing
like
it right?
Kind of a power boost if you move in like a certain direction?
Yeah, it has in like different cards have different dynamics like that. It's really interesting. Like a lot of people are put off by the card aspect, but it's more of like it almost feels like an ARPG, because it's like you have a limited amount of time per turn, per movement or whatever action that you take rather, and like you want to build your deck so like it's fluid and you don't get starved. So there's that aspect of card building, but it's not really like a card game or a card battles. It's like almost sort of like how Slay the Spire barely feels like a card. It's sure it's a card building game, but like I don't know. This is even more drastic than that. But this game is fucking beautiful. Like the music, it's same composer as Tales. And but I think it's his best work. The pre-rendered backgrounds look great. Even the chunky, glossy Generation 6 graphics look really good. Even now that I'm watching this footage, it still looks good.
I like it. It still really does look nice. Like that lady who just cast the spell, like her wings, everything. Like, and look at how animated her idle stance is. Like I really like that.
And this game basically does this is like when FF10 was big. So look, you have not Waka. That guy's definitely not Waka. And a lot of it is definitely like sort of Spira looking, like, you're on floating islands. Everybody's sort of like in tropical wear. The main character's wearing fucking Crocs, and I hate it.
Oh my god, he is.
I hate Callus's Crocs, man. That's the only thing I could cancel with this game. But it's really solid. I think like this is such a good game to play during its time, because it was so different than a lot of what Nintendo was doing. It's a monolith soft tri-ace game. It was super interesting.
Yeah, so it has like really good graphics and pretty solid RPG mechanics, and then Tri-Ace comes in and makes it like insane.
Gives the Star Ocean grindiness.
Yo, this is the Star Ocean Positivity Squad, Nick. Yeah. You just be quiet.
I'm sorry. I reviewed the Star Ocean remake or remaster for MonsterVine and did not look upon it favorably.
Oh, First Departure R?
Yeah. First Departure R, right.
You know what? I was playing that kind of recently, and I just dropped it, which I played it as a kid, the first one, and I just got bored of it. And I love Star Ocean. I like the good Star Ocean. They're all actually pretty good, but like I don't know.
Oh, wants to know which Bat and Kaitos we play first.
So I would say, man,
I think
know what?
In release order.
In release order, yeah, because Origin's a prequel, but like you don't get some of the oomph. You could play them in whatever order that you want, but
yeah, you could. But I think I agree with you that Bat and Kaitos is the better game.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people say Origin.
Yeah. I've definitely heard that. My friend who introduced me to the series was like, "Oh, definitely play Bat and Kaitos first," and so I did, and I liked it better than Origins.
I I was in a band very briefly in high school. We were like a screamo band, and we were called Botankaitos.
Oh, yeah.
Played
Hell
one
yeah.
show. It was bad.
There was
I really
one
like
JRPG
that
fan in the audience that was super stoked.
Hey, I have a weird history of naming my band names after something JRPG related, so I need to continue this.
Is it a weird history or is it a perfect history?
It's perfect. But yeah, what other RPGs do we have? We had. Oh, I just thought of this game.
Has anyone played Lost Kingdoms?
I was just about to bring that up.
FromSoft's card-based RPG.
Yeah, it's a card-based action RPG. And like I've never beaten it. In fact, I haven't given that game enough of its due. But talk about a cool idea for an action RPG game. You know.
Oh yeah.
Like essentially a deck builder action RPG. Very cool idea.
Ooh. I only rented this game. I never bought
Lost
it.
Kingdoms 2 looks really cool too. Lost Kingdom 2 has like that FromSoft fantasy style, like dark fantasy style.
Look at those like fucking Winamp visualization backgrounds.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, and real quick, Yahiko asked, was just better combat? I think Origin has more of like a streamlined, fluid combat. And Eternal Wings, which is the first game, that has more of like it's less guided. It feels a little bit less direct.
It's rough around the edges.
Yeah, I would say technically Origin, but they both use the same system, so it's like not incredibly different.
But Origin, they kind of hit their stride, right? Like like they knew what they were doing.
Right. It just didn't feel like okay. So Origin had like a lot more quick thinking, a lot more like divergent paths that you can take in battle, and it has a lot of stuff that's like kind of bullshit, like a lot of time based. Like you grow your cards in real time, like we were talking about. So Origin didn't have as much of that. But yeah, I would just play them in release order, man. Just know that the voice acting is hilarious. There's a weird compression in the stereo because the audio mixing was probably made by a rabbit, so the voice acting sounds like this because it was compressed. So if you do play it on mono, it'll be mono, which sucks, but the voice acting won't sound like a tin can. So that's my addendum. But yeah, it's a Lost Kingdoms 2. There was a port of a really shitty Dreamcast RPG called Evolution. Do you guys play this?
Yep, that's true. Yep.
The game sucks.
I played Evolution on the Dreamcast, actually.
Yeah, so did I, and I hated it, and I got it on GameCube because it was like one of the only GameCube RPGs at the time. It was early on in the life cycle, too.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, Skies of Arcadia Legends.
Oh, there you go. I was gonna bring up. Did you ever play Elemental Gimmick Gear on the Dreamcast?
No, that is
or Egg.
Oh yeah. Wait, Egg?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Egg is short for Elemental Gimmick Gear, but
oh. No, hold on. Let me look it up.
I can't find. I played this game, and as far as I can tell, there was never an English release.
For what?
Egg. Egg.
Egg?
Yeah.
Saga Frontier.
That's where I played this game.
Saga Frontier
Grandia
fans are crying right now, thinking of Egg. It's a long history of trauma. We don't talk about it.
For GameCube. Okay.
Yeah, I never. No, he's a Dreamcast.
Yeah. So Skies of Arcadia Legends, the objectively superior version of Skies of Arcadia.
Oh yeah.
I never played it. Any of them. I really want to. We should do that when we get to GameCube or Dreamcast.
Oh my god! Right? I don't know if we can do 100 episode.
Oh god, it's that long. It's
a long boy.
The problem is when we start to get to the series and we get the long ones.
It's one of those games. It's like the game itself is short, but it ends up taking so long because of all the mechanics and the side quests and whatever else that you choose to do in it. So
playing Legend of Mana right now.
Battle animations. Let's not forget battle animations.
Oh, it's fucking so slow.
And that and that's like almost like a JRPG mainstay. long battle
Yes.
animations. Like when we hit
Yes.
that like 360 era
Oh, yeah.
or or even like I guess this gen, right? Like the gen we're talking about, Gen 6, right? Where it's like Final Fantasy 10.
Yeah,
I'm
this
trying
is
to
the
think.
big
Lost
gen for
Odyssey
this.
has too.
Oh god, it's so slow. This is the one of the biggest negatives I can say about Gen 6 is that everything was just so long because they were really pushing like you said, the cinematicness of everything. And also
Western people, the Western audience loved the cinematics. That was one of the things that people loved about 7. Final
yeah, and
Knights
they
of the Round.
latched onto it.
Knights of the Round.
Yes.
That's all people would talk about at school.
Do you remember the first time you saw Knights of the Round, though?
Yeah.
Cool as shit.
I remember just being like, this is so cool.
I didn't know what was going on
Bahamut.
at first. I'm like sitting there watching, like, what is happening?
The first one that I was blown away by was Neo Bahamut when he like, it's super long, and I was like, I loved Bahamut, and I was like, damn, that's the coolest shit I've ever seen. And then Knights of Round, as it's called in the game, is like just another level. And just another level on top. But a big part of this too is like, like the frame rate on the animations are really slow. I think a big part of it was like trying to load things and like make you think. It had a sort of like gameplay element mixed in there. Whereas like, okay, we'll make this more strategic, more cinematic. But I don't know if it really worked super well. Oh man, this has like the quality of my memory.
Chew. It's beautiful.
Look at that. That is not, oh man. This is like captured on it. Like, okay, this person had their PlayStation 1 hooked up to the VCR and then recorded this on a blank tape and then uploaded it to 240p on YouTube.
They sent it into YouTube.
Yeah.
They mailed the VHS tape to YouTube.
Hell yeah.
I like this. Give it the thumbs up.
Let's talk about a couple of other GBA games. This is a contentious one. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
The game where you're the villain?
Whoa, spoilers!
Listen, it starts out with you telling your crippled brother, no, you're going to go back to being a cripple.
Right.
Okay, so probably the thing that people disagree about the most. How do you guys feel about the judge system?
Hate it. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I get what they were trying to do, and I think in a way it was a good idea because the biggest problem with tactics. What's that?
It's thematic with the world that Advanced Tactics Tactics Advance takes place in,
Yeah, but it's also kind of like, okay, it makes a more guided gameplay experience. It adds more challenge and like tribulation because what ends up happening in Tactics is like it becomes a job grinding game where you just, and that's fucking awesome because I love that. But like, like the gameplay wasn't very dynamic in Tactics. It was kind of just like, grind out your job levels and do a big attack that kills everything. And so, like, I get what they were trying to do with it because they were trying to make it like, so, okay, you can't use this, so you can't use, like, your fight command, so you have to use magic, and that's so annoying because it limits what your party can do, because if you spread yourself out too thinly, then you don't have, you might have an answer for one or two things, but not everything, and it's just, like, it's a big struggle. I don't like it. I think it could have been cool in much greater moderation, though.
Mm-hmm.
How about you guys?
Agree. I agree completely. It's one of those things that you're like, I feel like you guys could have done this in a way that was really cool, but it just ended up being more of an oppressive system. Than
perfect word.
Like they really wanted it to be something that caused you to make sure you build your party to be able to handle any style of combat and to handle any of the red card situations you could get into. But instead, it kind of just like homogenized your entire party and make a bunch of jack of all trades instead of like, I like tactical RPGs because I like to min max and do weird things. Like I'll never forget learning how to break the original tactics with a arithmetician. Like,
oh yeah,
it took away from some of the things that I truly loved about tactics, which was the fun of trying to kind of break the game. It just feels kind of restricting. the judge
Yeah,
system, and I think it's on purpose. It's meant to restrict you. They did what they set out to do. Just in practice, it wasn't as fun as it could have been.
it kind of.
See, I'm not a min maxer. I'm not a min maxer, but I agree. You know, like I don't know. I almost wish it was in tactics and not in this one. But like I guess like I don't know. The potential of being able to do something stupid, ridiculous was always there in tactics, and that's what I loved about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so to like have that taken away. I mean, like you could still do stupid, ridiculous stuff, but not in the same way, right?
Yeah,
like
and
on the right
what you said perfectly, it underlines what I'm about to say, and it's like the presentation of this game is countervail to those mechanics, because look how bright and vivid this game is. Like, it starts off with a real world snowball fight,
especially comparably to tactics, you know.
Right, and it's like it doesn't really like fit, because like, this game was obviously more designed for little Timmy than the first Tactics was, right? So to have a system that's that oppressive in a game like this was like, that's like you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. Right? Yeah, and it's like, I feel like they sort of hamstrung a lot of the potential of the series with that. But at the same time, I don't know if a lot of people who were playing GBA were really... Because, you know, GBA was like very big among younger audiences. I don't really know if Tactics ever really had a great, bright future on the GBA. But I think that games like this are amazing for handheld, because the pick up and play portability of it is so nice. Just so good.
Yeah, agreed.
Tactics Advance was great to pick up and do a random map and then put down, you know, in between when you were trying to do something else.
Totally.
Well, and you know, I hate to bring this up since it's not really, I don't know, maybe PSP. You had a whole bunch of you had like well, for one you had Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together. You had I forget Spectral Souls.
Rated tactical RPGs of all times. Jeanne d'Arc.
Yep, I was gonna bring that up. God, what else was on there? I mean, like technically, you could play the PS1 version of Tactics.
Yeah,
I have that on my Vita at least. But yeah, the Tactics RPGs, and then you know you got your Fire Emblem and your Advance Wars too, right?
Yep.
Like the awesome to play on handhelds. You know, great to either get through a map or like just put it down midway through, right? Like
3 different flavors of really interesting, addicting.
Yeah.
Being able to sleep your console, that was the first for the GBA, and it was awesome. It was the beginning of the equivalent of closing your DS, you know, like.
God, that was so good.
And like Nintendo really tried to push I mean, you see this now with the Switch, obviously, but they really tried to push the mix of handheld and TV-based gameplay, because the GBA and the GameCube were so integrated together. That, like, you know, you had stuff like Crystal Chronicles where you attach the GBA and you like can't play it without it. You had stuff like the Sonic Adventure 2 Battle using the GBA for the Chow stuff, and it was like
4 Swords.
Oh yeah,
Legend of Zelda 4 Swords.
How did I forget? Yeah. It's like there was a whole multimedia aspect to it that Nintendo was kind of ahead of its time here. And this is one of the biggest themes I kind of wanted to focus on with this podcast is like, this generation, especially for Nintendo, was like this bright and shining
transformative
potential. Yeah, totally. And it was like, it was sort of mitigated by Nintendo's poor decision making, the marketability of the GameCube and whatever. But like, I mean, stuff like Metroid Prime, all the Skyward Sword or Wind Waker and Twilight Princess toward the end of GameCube. Minish Cap, like all these games, Mario Sunshine, they were like, they didn't quite hit the mark that they set out to hit among audiences, but they offered this really interesting potential about what could be in the future. And I don't know if Nintendo fully capitalized on that yet. You know?
It didn't.
Yeah. I agree.
They haven't.
Experimentation, I feel like.
And you can absolutely tell that too, because you see so many groups of people popping up that like, I mean, like think about how excited people were that they were going to get to play Sunshine for the first time when they released that Mario collection. You know, and the only reason they were excited for Sunshine is because other people have talked about how much they love Sunshine, right? Same thing with like Minish Cap. I know a lot of people that Minish Cap is one of their favorite Legend of Zelda games.
It rules.
I played Wind Waker for the first time on the Wii U, Wind Waker HD, and I mean, like, granted, it cuts down on a lot of the BS, but Wind Waker is an excellent Legend of Zelda game. You know, like I can't get into. I have a really hard time getting into the 3D ones. My first Legend of Zelda game was Legend of Zelda, and I played it like way too much. You know, definitely played it way too much. I even like Adventures of Link a little bit.
I love Zelda too.
We Zelda 2 stands in here.
It's first of all, the music slaps.
Oh yeah,
I love the music in that game. I don't know why, but the music slaps.
It does.
But
it does rule.
My favorite Legend of Zelda game was Link to the Past.
Still,
or it was.
It's number one.
I think it's I don't know. I think Breath of the Wild knocked it out for me. But boy, talk about a divisive Legend of Zelda game. But but for the longest time, I couldn't get into any 3D Legend of Zelda games until I played Wind Waker. You know, everything before that was 2D Zelda ruled, and Minish Cap was really freaking good too.
Yeah, Minish Cap was definitely like the Link Between Worlds of its time, where it tried to, harken back to the roots of Zelda in a lot of ways. And I think I think it landed pretty well. I feel like it didn't get the audience that it sort of deserved. If that game had come out today, I mean, that's a shitty thing to say, because you could say that about anything and it has, you fall down that rabbit hole. But like, I mean, if that game had come out like on a system that sold better, even though the GBA did sell well, but like, like the relevance, the market relevance wasn't.
If they had moved that to the DS, if they had moved it over to the DS, because I don't know, can you play that on the DS? I don't think you can. I mean, obviously you can stick the cart. You can stick the cart in the DS, but I mean, like, if they had actually made it a downloadable thing or something like that, and then marketed it, you know what I mean?
You guys want to know what the North American GBA sales are?
Sure.
40 million.
Yeah, is that total now, or is that like a guess?
Total as of 2020.
Because that's right. Because Nintendo did release their sales, like they released like hard sales data, didn't they?
We over doubled Japan's numbers. Japan numbers was about 17 million. Like,
that's still insane,
which is huge. Yeah, it's insane in Japan. That's insane in Japan.
Yeah, so it's like,
well, it even sold almost 22 million in Europe too. Like
the GBA was like oddly big there.
Insane success.
Well, when I talk about like GBA and GameCube, it's not like they were bad in terms of like big picture stuff. Like it's not like they weren't profitable. It just that they just didn't have as much relevance because PS2 was so huge, and then Xbox came along and it was like, yeah, man, and so like it shut out
Western
a lot
audience. Like, think about it, like we Western audiences. I mean, like we got the PlayStation 1, which was revolutionary, but it's not like the place. I mean, like, and PlayStation 1 outsold Nintendo 64. All right, but people hadn't forgotten about Nintendo at that point, right? And so the GameCube comes out, and it does not great. You know what I mean? And then and we've got like the Dream, and the console market had never been so fragmented either. Right? We had the Dreamcast, the PS2, the GameCube, and the original Xbox, right?
And the power vacuum from Sega, like, it's wild.
It was wild. And Sega, man, talk about screwing it up, just constantly. Right? But we had, we had never seen the console market so fragmented. So it's almost like, really it's a testament to how good, how amazing the Sony was at capturing that market share, right? But also like why Nintendo should really be focusing on bringing that generation, like they're doing with the Wii U, right? They're like, okay, we know the Wii U had a lot of great games. Let's move them over to the Switch. And they're doing that. You know what I mean? And I don't know what the sales numbers look like there, but like I know lots of people that are excited for them. I'm excited for them. I can't wait for them to bring Xenoblade Chronicles Cross over to the Switch.
Please do it.
So very excited for that. Very excited.
I want people to be mad at it. I want people to be pissed off at it. At least they have something.
It's not paced well. It is not paced well.
I love it.
I love that game. I love that game, but man, if they had paced that well, either make seriously, either give us mechs super early on, which I think they kind of already did, but the problem with the whole mech thing, and I don't want to get off.
He's on the cover.
The problem with the mech thing is that it makes the world feel so small.
Yeah.
The world feels enormous, and then you get mechs, and then it feels really tiny.
And it also overpowers everything. There's no reason to. You can do on foot stuff that ends up being more overpowered, but to grind up to that level is it's not worth it.
Yeah, there's definitely Chronicles and Chronicles 2 are definitely better than Cross.
Yeah.
But anyway, to my original point, I think they're seeing success by bringing those Wii U games over to the Switch, and I'd like to see them do more with the GameCube GBA.
Well, and they were poised to do it with the Virtual Console on Wii U. There's so many good games that are on there. I'm thinking about replaying the Metroid games, and we'll get to that in a sec. And I was like, the best way to play them is on the GBA ones is on Wii U, I think, because the issue of visibility isn't a thing there. It's really nice, and they were really poised to have I don't want to say preservation because that's a word that gets misused a lot, but there is accessibility. There's a lot more accessibility when you have 80% of a console's games digitally, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the lack of success of the Wii U really kind of put them back and made them really grubby, and which is shitty because it's they made poor decisions.
The Wii U
it's
was
their
a great
fault.
retro console. It really was.
It was Earthbound. Earthbound was on the Wii U. I ran through I ran through the office when I saw that. I ran through the office and I was shouting. I was like, Earthbound's coming to the Wii U. People were like, Nick, shut the hell up. I was so excited when they brought Earthbound to the Wii U, but it was really cool. It was a really cool console, and that console had some really excellent games. Mario Maker was people didn't think they would ever actually do something like that,
Yeah.
And now we've got a Legend of Zelda Maker and Link's Awakening for the for the Switch.
Please give it to us full. That's all I want. I want real Zelda Maker.
But yeah, the concept of GBA and DS ports and even GameCube ports is really kind of hitting its head now because I feel like you're really starting to see again, I try not to use this word because it is often used wrong, but you're starting to see game preservation become a major issue in just discussion and discourse and all over social media, and it's something that people are clamoring for. And I think GBA and GameCube are a perfect touchstone for this because there's so little ports of them, actual ports of these games. The there's those rumors about Baten Kaitos getting HD remaster or whatever because
I'd love that.
Refresh the trademark. I would
love to play those.
Trademark okay. So anybody listening to this, yeah, trademark usually doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Now that doesn't mean that they won't do something with it. All right. So maintain a little fire of hope. That's okay. But if you get excited over trademarks and copyrights and stuff like that, just don't. All right. They're refreshing it just because they already have it and they just need to keep it. You know what I mean?
We would have gotten Metroid Dread 10 years ago if that were the case. So.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly.
Yeah. And speaking of Metroid, I didn't even mean to pepper that in, but let's talk about Metroid because this is one of the reasons why 6th Gen, for me, and GameCube GBA is one of my favorite eras because 2 fucking great Metroid games, 3 actually, if you count Zero Mission, 3 really good. No, and Prime 2. Look at that, man. That's 4 fucking games. Not even 3, but 4, and all of them are super solid. Prime 1 is one of the best games of that generation, I would say.
Such a cool game, such a cool, unique experience that really stands on its own against any other kind of game, either in its genre of first-person shooter, quote-unquote, or Metroid games. It's a very unique, awesome experience. I love Prime. I'll always be someone who, if you ask me if you can have a new 2D Metroid or a new 3D Metroid, I'll say 2D, but Prime does something special where I have this. It appeals to the lore nerd in me. I love being able to
all
scan
right.
every single little thing and
Yeah.
to find out all kinds of
Whoa.
made up science about games and stuff like that. Like it really fulfilled a part of me that I didn't know I needed until I played it.
Yeah, sorry, the stream just like spazzed the fuck out for a second. I don't know how that happened, but it's working now. It just that was weird. But yeah, no, Prime. Okay, let's look at the zeitgeist of what was going on at the time. FPS games were starting to become really, really big, and you had Xbox and
Especially on
PS,
consoles.
especially yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant. And it's like this genre was starting to become super prevalent and marketable and blah blah blah. And Nintendo is like, I mean, I know they didn't develop because Retro Studios did, but I'm sure they had a hand in this production. Nintendo,
sure.
everybody was asking
There's
that
no
question.
way they didn't.
Oh yeah, everybody was asking that question of like, is Nintendo going to do a first person game? And then Prime like they start showing more of it, and it's obvious that it's a first person game. And there was like, do you guys remember the discourse on this on like GameFAQs and whatever, just the internet in general?
Yes, people were so opposed to the even idea of this that they were very outspoken about it.
Oh yeah.
So I wasn't aware of that, but it's not gonna, that's never gonna be a bridge too far for me, right? Like people, like they decided. So Nintendo makes a maybe Nintendo obvious. Yeah, no, Nintendo. There's no way Nintendo didn't make the decision to genre pivot on this,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, so retro, I mean, like maybe retro pitched it, doesn't matter who pitched it. Nintendo had to sign off on it, right? And there's no way Nintendo like took one of Metroid's, Metroid's big franchise for them at the time. And there's no way they didn't look at this and go, this is a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Gamers, if gamers are anything that's conservative, all right, they want games to their favorite Final Fantasy is always the first Final Fantasy they played. And that goes through. That's a through line, right? And so they're playing Metroid games, and they're all these 2D side-scrolling Metroid games, and the second anything comes out that's a little bit different, they're going to be upset about it. So, but what a great idea!
Yeah, and the thing that's crazy is that it still feels. It doesn't feel because it's a first person game, sure, but is it a first person shooter in the same way that like
exploration game?
Yeah, that was a big thing that people used to say.
If I had to place a title on it, that game is a lot more focused on the exploration and immersion than it is the shooting aspect of
Immersion.
Yep, immersion. But no, it totally. Yeah, it's like. And I think that that's a really interesting way of, and you had that was a really good aside, or not aside. I don't know what the diatribe. I don't know. That was a really good thing. That was a really good thing that you said there, buddy. But you hit a point that's like super essential, and it's that like Nintendo doesn't make games or other when Nintendo gives an IP to another company to develop, whether it be Monolith Soft working on Breath of the Wild, whether it be Retro Studios working on Metroid Prime, whether it be Zelda Oracle of Ages made by Capcom, whenever Nintendo is like, they have that idea, and then they give it to the company to develop. And the company develops the finer idea. But the general concept of the game is like almost, I'm sure there are exceptions, but almost always Nintendo saying, Retro Studios, y'all gonna make a first-person Metroid game, and these are the major tenets of what you're supposed to do. And they're like, okay, yes. So at the end of the day, it really is sort of Nintendo's call about what gets designed, in that sense, in the broadest of spectrums for sure. But like,
I agree.
Prime is really interesting because it takes a genre and like Nintendo-izes it in a really interesting, engaging way. It's more it takes the feel and like exploration and like the Metroidness of the first game and just puts it in a new perspective to me and adds modern conveniences, scanning, lore, cinematics, etc. But at its heart, it's like it feels a lot like the first game, and it still has like the Metroid progression, the Metroidvania progression, you know.
Metroidvania.
So that's yeah, and makes me so sad that so many people haven't played these games because Nintendo will not port that. Oh, I get it though. I get it because did you guys see this? How like one of the developers of Retros who developed Metroid Prime, the trilogy, like spoke at length about the technical limitations of being able to port these games to the Switch. Did you
That
guys?
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
Switch's 66 processor, right? And before that, Nintendo's only been PowerPC, right?
yeah, and it's more like
It's-
it's not necessarily the hardware aspect. It's just like being able to take those the engine of those games and like port it and being able to play it and mess with it to like map controls and do all that kind of stuff is like a huge struggle because of how the game was coded. And it was like during that weird bridge time during this generation where people were developing games in kind of like jerry rig ways, you know. So
like, you know, as I'm not a Pokemon guy, that would be like, you know how those guys get where they're very upset that the new Pokemon don't have like, where that guy on Reddit like did the math to find out how long it would actually take them to port over all of the Pokemon. You know, I was just like, oh my god, dude, just like take a breath, go outside, feel the grass. But like, yeah, so anytime a developer is just like, hey, this is too difficult, you know what I mean? Like, this is too difficult to do, I'm very willing to believe them.
Yeah, he actually it was really realistic because I wish I could find the direct quote. Maybe I'll put it in the description of this podcast when I upload it. But he basically said that like it's doable. It would just take like a long time. And is it profitable for Nintendo to spend a year?
Is it worth the time investment, right?
And so many capital G gamers don't understand that games are a business. And I always have to say this. It's like it's not like Nintendo's like, you know, we just really want you guys to experience the games. It's like Nintendo is the greedy corporate overlord who is like, it'd be real sick if you guys liked it, but we're just trying to make some money. You know, and it's really easy to forget that.
And what the capital G gamers don't understand is they're barking up. I mean, like there is that wing of games that are games as an artistic expression, artistic art form, and they just don't like those. You know what I mean? Like I spend my two wheelhouses of reviewing games from MonsterVine is indie games and RPGs. So I spend a lot of time playing games that these capital G gamers would never play. You know what I mean? Like straight up, they just would not play them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And these are very like you can tell that these games.
It looks like a router issue.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Good lord.
You can tell that a lot of these games that like the developer put their heart and soul into this. You know what I mean? And it's like, hey, if nobody freaking plays this game, I do not give an F. You know what I mean? I do not give a fuck if anybody plays this game. I needed to make this game. This game is I actually just reviewed this game called Essays on Empathy. All right, and it's a studio. Crap, I can't remember their name. They're in Spain, and they made this game called the Red Strings Club. Right, and basically what it was is it was a 10-game suite, a 10 indie game suite on just game jam submissions that they sent on Itch.io.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's so cool, and like all of them tackle really important subjects to the developers. You know what I mean? And these guys, I mean, like I'm sure whoever their publisher is, it is Devolver. Yeah, I'm sure they care. You know what I mean? Whether or not they're making money, but like, you're putting out a suite of Itch.io titles that you don't charge for. Like you can go and play all of these games for free on Itch.io. Wow. Do you really think they care about that?
No,
these guys
like
are making games to make games. Yeah, well, except that's their livelihood too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It ends up being like one of those like intersections where it can be, but I mean, they're not making as much as like Capcom is, or like,
no, not at all. Exactly,
Dave. Like it's not like that either.
This E3 had the least amount or the most amount of non-violent games in any E3 ever.
Oh, wow!
It's interesting to see. Games are
total.
Total between everything. I think like 30% of the games featured zero violence, which is a total a big change for the industry as a whole. So it's really cool to see. It's cool to see that people are doing that, and it's cool to see that people are paying attention to that.
Now, let me bring that around. All right, because Joey, what you were saying was talking about how Nintendo was taking existing genres and bringing them into or showing them in interesting ways. And I would almost say that Nintendo's whole, maybe not their goal, but like kind of like what they're doing is they're trying to do more family friendly stuff,
Yes,
right?
exactly,
And so
yeah.
one like Metroid, it's first person, you have a gun in front of you, but like even though there's combat in the game, the focus is on exploration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my dog's barking.
I can't hear it. You're good.
You get it.
So we've got now the least violent E3, and in Gen 6, probably one of the least violent first person game ever released, and it was released by Nintendo.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, I'm
That's
glad that
interesting.
you mentioned that, because that's sort of what I was trying to articulate, however poorly, with my Nintendo-ization comments. But yeah, I mean, you know what? It's like, it's weird because, you know, this is again branching off the topic, but like, I'll try to make it relative. So like back then, the concept of an indie game in Gen 6 was that like an indie game didn't really exist outside of like, you know, Doom or, you know, something like PC, or it's Counter-Strike was a really good example, but it is a different field basically. And now that like everything has become so long tail, the whole market for video games is so long tail that like you can sell a game like Essays on Empathy, and it can sell pretty well and it could be accessible, but it's still not going to hit. It's still not going to broach the mainstream, but it almost touches upon it. So it's like this really weird proliferation of ideas and concepts that like has become totally postmodern now. That was like, you saw like the beginnings of this in Gen 6. So that was how I tied things together. Sorry.
So I feel like I can offer kind of an interesting insight on this working with premium edition games. We work with a lot of games that have been already released, obviously, and the digital landscape for video games is very vast. There are hundreds of games released a month on like the Switch eShop and stuff like that. And one of my favorite parts of working with indie developers and bringing physical copies of games that might not have gotten it is a lot of these guys just kind of got lost in the storm.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
like
what happens.
one of our first games, Super Blood Hockey, Lauren Lemke, he's an absolutely wonderful guy. He's from over in Europe. It's been great watching his just genuine appreciation for giving his game like second life. You know, like the game, it's so saturated, and it's cool to see that giving a little bit of extra spotlight to someone who, because like our thing is modern retro done right, and there's a lot of people who use retro as a crutch rather than something to move them forward. And I love being able to really put a spotlight on the people who don't use retro as a crutch, but instead use it as like a setting and almost like a strength behind them. And I think that definitely has to do a lot with like just in general the scape of games and genres. And so speaking of like how we were talking about like non-violent games and stuff like that, it's been really interesting to see a lot of these indie developers, even if they make an absolutely fantastic product, it gets lost within just the avalanche of games that come out weekly nowadays.
Yeah.
Which we didn't have, like you were saying, what an indie game was considered in like the 6th gen versus what it's considered, what are we in the 9th or something? Right?
Yeah.
8th,
Wait.
9th?
Yes.
Eight,
No,
yeah.
8th. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it 9th?
I think it's
Oh my
9.
gosh, the PS5 is out. Yeah, PS5.
Yeah.
Although you
It's
can
just-
say it started with the
interesting.
Switch. I don't fucking know. I don't know.
No, because Nintendo's
It's
off,
weird in
right?
between.
Yeah, always off one.
Nintendo's the weird in between, yeah.
They're always off by one.
Mm-hmm. No, I think so. That's a really good way to wind down this episode too. Is like a lot of this stuff. I think that storm started really badly with this generation, and I think that like now, back to what we were saying again about game preservation, is that like now's a really good time to clamor for this kind of stuff, because I feel like so many people missed out on a lot of these games. Baten Kaitos, even original Gen 3 Pokemon was kind of slept on in relation to the rest of the series. Tactics Advance, so many Final Fantasy fans never played it. You know, like big Final Fantasy enthusiasts barely played it. And it's like, there's just, the smoke makes that epic. Nice. There's just so many things so many games in here. Metroid Prime is probably the biggest thing. That game comes out now. I think it would change a lot of the climate for even indie games.
If that wasn't done before currently, and they just did it now for the first time.
Yeah, no, I mean like just bringing that game so more people can play it. You know, I feel like that's like one of those things. Like every couple of years, you see like a resurgence in styles, and I think that is something that's like there's a void for that type of game. You know, and like especially considering the big boom that Metroidvania's got in the last like 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Shout out to Austin.
Right, and it's like it. So yeah, fucking play these games. Ask Nintendo, ask whomever to try to port them because there needs to be more vocality on this matter. Because again, Nintendo's a business; they're not going to bring over port games that like will sell measly. So it's like people have to want them. They have to like there has to be a market for it, and it's a tough subject to tackle. Anything else that you guys wanted to discuss before we kind of wrap this up? Because we have been going for like 2 hours now.
We had a good 2-hour go. Yeah, no. It's been the sixth generation was a generation where there was a lot of change. There was a lot of competition. I feel like it was the first generation where there was 3 big boys, like big. And I know there was when the Dreamcast first came out, but
or 4,
and PlayStation 1.
Yeah, Dreamcast, PS2, GameCube, Xbox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were, but still, as I guess I feel like it felt different compared to the last generation. Like, it's still at that point, it is 3 versus 4, but during the 6th generation, it really opened up in terms of competition, which breeds innovation. And I think the 6th generation is a perfect example of that because there is a lot of innovation. There's a lot of playing with new ideas, and there's a lot of retooling old IPs, especially on the Nintendo side of things. It's been really interesting because like obviously we think about it and stuff like that when we talk about games, but it's been really interesting to sit and really go over it for like 2 hours, and I feel like I definitely have a bit more of an idea of what made the 6th generation special because of this, and I hope everyone else is getting the same thing out of it in terms of the people here and the people watching. So.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be. I mean, granted, you know, it's very easy to fall on tangents when you're excited or passionate about something, and there's no like kind of guideline. Mm-hmm. But I think it goes to say that like we talked about just the Nintendo side of this for this long, tangents aside, and still like barely scratched the surface.
Oh yeah,
barely.
So
barely.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick. Any closing thoughts from you that you'd like to share?
Well, we never really talked about Time Stalkers, right?
Oh, fuck, Time Stalkers, so good, so good.
But no, I think I think it was an interesting generation. It's one I really missed out on at the time, and I spent a lot of time trying to catch up on. But it like you said earlier, I mean, like it was really cool. They were trying to get a whole bunch of shit to stick on the wall, you know, just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. I hope that. Bring it back to the beginning. I really hope that SMT kind of gets a little bit of attention this gen, enough so that Atlas starts to get a little bit of cash and starts doing that too. Because man, there were an awful lot of spin-offs in that generation of SMT games, and it'd be nice to see that again.
We can leave SMT 9 in the gutter though. That's fine.
We sure can. We sure can.
We don't need to talk about that one. I do think that game is interesting though. But you know that's a really good. But that's a really good like sentiment to mull over for sure. And thank you guys so much for joining me again. Before we close out though, remind whomever is listening where we can find you guys.
Go ahead, Frank.
We are the Super RPG Friends. I am Woodman FLG, aka Frank Wood. Nick is Nick Mandracina. You can find us every Thursday at 8 p.m. EST. Right now, we are doing Chrono Trigger. We
haven't even started yet.
No, we haven't. This coming Thursday is actually the first episode.
The time shifting.
Right. We do a high production, a lot of personal investment with guests. We have up to 5 guests every week. It's a great time. I hope everyone will come out, hang out with us, and interact with us. Nick, you want to go?
So on Thursday, if you follow us on Twitter, you're definitely going to get the best updates. But you can also join our Discord, and you can reach out. Go ahead, Frank. You looked like you had something to say there.
I was pointing up to you because I was
Okay,
I forgot to mention.
Definitely want to join. So Twitter is definitely where. Frank, can you drop our Twitter in chat? Twitter is definitely where you're going to want to follow the. Get most of the updates from us, but we haven't even started Chrono Trigger. We just finished last week. We just finished Earthbound, our final episode of Earthbound, and we're moving straight on to Chrono Trigger this Thursday. And we have a Discord server set up with reminders and stuff like that when we go live, and the Twitch channel is MonsterVine Official.
Yep.
Twitch.tv/MonsterVine Official.
Thursdays at 8 p.m. EST.
Awesome. And as always, I will put these links in the description on whatever platform you're listening or watching to this podcast. And you can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/podcastjump. We're on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, YouTube. The VOD of this will be on YouTube. And also Twitch at twitch.tv/JOIE, jump and shoot, JUMPAND, shoot. And, keep in mind, we're still doing this Sidequest series. So I'd love to have you guys on again at some point, and we can talk in more granular detail about some of these games, or maybe something else, or maybe SMT, because I feel like Nick is just like an SMT. He really wants to get that out of his system.
Love it.
Game number 3.
There you go. And thanks again, guys, for joining me, and thanks everybody for listening. We will see y'all soon.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you for having us, Joey. Thank you for everyone watching. Looking forward to talking to everyone further.